All right, the classic upsell. As usual, how I learned it, description, examples, important points. Here's my lovely visual thing for the classic upsell. How I learned it. Here we go. So I had a mentorship, whatever you want to call it. It wasn't really a mentorship. I was just getting paid and I took him as a mentor. He didn't really care about me at all. But at a fur coat dealer. And he was a fourth generation furrier. And I remember watching how his son, who was my friend, that's how I got the job, I would be brushing fur coats all summer in the heat in the warehouse. Uh, Unbelievably mind-melting stuff, like boring beyond belief. And the thing that I kept thinking was that every single one of these coats was $200, and he had 7,000 coats in his warehouse. And I was like, holy cow. I was like, that's $1.4 million that he's making just for storing coats for the summer. I was like, this is pretty sweet. And I know what I was making, and it was not $1.4 million for storing these coats. And so the offer that they had to get people in was that they would get people to store their coats. And they said if they stored them, they would get free earmuffs, free fur earmuffs. So people were like, oh, that's cool. And so people would come in for the free earmuffs. And then they would say, we'll store and condition the coat for you. And it costs $30 to store the muffs. Now they'd come in for free earmuffs, but it's the summer. So then they would basically hand them the earmuffs and then take the earmuffs back. And then they'd say, you don't want anything else, do you? And so by saying you don't want anything else, they would assume close the winter storage, the conditioning, and the earmuffs that went with the sale. And so that is when I learned you can't have X without Y. And that is the fundamental basis of the classic upsell. You don't want burgers without fries. You don't want burgers without a Coke. You don't want a fur coat without storing it. You don't want a fur coat without conditioning it. It'd be like taking a car and not getting it serviced. Like, you don't want X without Y. And so I learned a couple of things. One was the structure of a classic upsell, which is you don't want X without Y. But tactically, I learned the no sale sale. All right. And so the way that this works is basically people have been conditioned over the years to say no to salesmen. And so when someone says you don't want anything else, most people just immediately say no. And so what we want to do is basically imply that the else means in addition to the thing we just offered you. And by doing that, you get people to say yes by saying no. And so these people who came in to store their coats agreed to storage, conditioning, and the free earmuffs, which then got stored at a $30 fee for saying no. They don't want anything else. So the no sale sale is what I ended up calling a different sale, which may sound confusing, but bear with me. So if someone came into the gym and they said they declined every service offering we had, right, which sucks, you would then try and salvage some sort of goodwill or rapport because this person walked in and is basically walking back out, which sucks. And so you say, hey, listen, I will still want to help you for 6 weeks. And so why don't we just do this as an at-home program? All right, so I'll give you this thumb drive that has at-home workouts that you can follow, and then come in a couple days, and we will give you a nutrition consult on the house. All right, we just want to help you out, and hopefully maybe when things are a little less crazy or money's a little bit better, you can come back and at least you'll have nice things to say about us. And so a lot of people would say yes to that. And so when they showed up to the next appointment, which was the nutrition consult, we would still close the same percentage of them as we did for normal customers. But here was the cool thing. We actually closed them at a higher average ticket. And so the people who bought services and then bought supplements averaged $200 a ticket. People who didn't buy services and then bought supplements averaged $300 a ticket. And so to me, my lesson from this was that we tried to solve their problem, not in a way they wanted to solve it. So they wanted to lose weight, but they wanted to have a magic pill rather than work. And so we needed to have the magic pill available for them, which in their mind would be supplements. Now, obviously, we always say, hey, you got to make sure you got to eat the food and all that stuff, but people hear what they want to hear. And so the thing is the magic behind this is that we turned no sales into sales by just offering them something else. So, the description. So what you do is you provide a service for free that you can monetize another way. So this works for one-time services or even recurring services, provided the recurring stream has high enough margins to pay for both. Different way of saying it, essentially, I give you thing A for free in exchange for buying thing B, or I give you thing A for free and I will encourage you to buy thing B, or I give you a thing for free as long as you continue to use thing B. Any of those things. So the earmuff thing, he says, I will give you these free earmuffs and I will encourage you to storage them. That's what that was, a classic upsell. So if we have a lemonade stand with our classic upsell, we say we want to give you a free cup of lemonade. Upsell one might be, do you want lemonade ice cubes to make it cold without diluting it? Now, of course, you could give cold lemonade, but then you wouldn't have an ice cube upsell. Upsell 2 would be, do you want a stainless steel to-go container to keep it cold for you? And we'll donate $1 to help children's cancer to anyone who takes the mug. You also get 20% off refills. Upsell number 2, right? So you don't want lemonade in a little paper cup. You want a nice steel mug. You don't want diluted down lemonade. You want lemonade ice cubes, right? Each of these things are just natural upsells that could happen. And I prove this point because whatever it is you sell, there's an upsell that's available for you. All right. So storage. In this business, I have a whole story around this, but I tell this in the book, so I'll give you the brief version of it. But in the first few months of me being in business, I was struggling a little bit. And so the business owner across the street was a massive storage unit. And he ended up becoming a member of my gym because it was super convenient for him. And so he asked me, hey, how much time you got left to live? And I was like, not that long. And so he said, come for a ride with me. And he took me to his facility and he said, how much does a free month of storage cost? And I was like, I don't know, free? And he was like, no, $127. And so as we walked in, he asked Judy, the front desk girl, he said, how much does a free month of storage cost? She was like, $127. And he was like, that's right. And so I was like, how does this even work? And he was like, okay, so you come in for a free month of storage. He's like, what's the first thing you're going to need? And as he's walking me through the facility and pauses, and I was like, I don't know. And then he taps the lock on the door. And I was like, oh, a lock. And he's like, right. He's like, and you can't have any kind of lock because there's only one kind of lock that fits the store, the locks that I sell at the front. He's like, for $47. And I was like, oh, okay, got it. And I was like, so you make 47 people coming for the free. I was like, but where's the other, whatever it is, $80? He's like, good question. He's like, now that you have your lock, what else are you going to need? I was like, I'm like, I don't know. And he's like, well, you probably need some boxes for all that stuff that you have, which I have conveniently here. You don't want to go to another place down the street or have to order them on Amazon, wait for them to come, break them, box them, all this. It's like, we have them right here available for you. And I was like, oh, right. He's like, and we also have hand tow, the hand trucks that you can use to move your stuff in and out at your convenience for a fee. And I was like, oh, right. He's like, and this stuff's probably really valuable for you because otherwise you just throw it away, but it's valuable enough that you pay to store it. We obviously guarantee up to $500 of damage. That could happen if there's a flood or anything should happen or theft. But if you want, you can have $1 million storage fee for just an extra $10 a month. And he paused and he was like, you want to know my margins on that? I was like, okay. And he was like, 90%. And so he explained that. And he's like, and what happens a lot of times is that people's eyes are bigger than their stomach. So they come here and they think they're going to be able to fit all this crap in a locker this big. Oftentimes, they need a bigger unit. It's also a little bit spacier. And that way they can get their stuff in and out because they don't realize if stuff's in the back, they got to move everything out just to get to it. And so he walked me through every single upsell that they had. And I realized that that's how a free month of storage created $127. And so many businesses right now, just like the rental car story, just like the storage unit, there are other things that a customer must purchase. They will buy them. It's just a question, will they buy them from you or somebody down the street? So weight loss. So for us, upsell number 1 was at the nutrition orientation. We would sell them supplements. We would then sell them nutrition plans. And the immediate version for me was I wanted to sell supplements because I had no more delivery. I could immediately hand it to them, make the profit back. And usually what I made on the supplements covered the cost to acquire a customer. So just that sale covered my cash flow. And I hadn't even started servicing them yet. And so a lot of you guys have these little things that are available. Like if I have a physical therapist, maybe you give 4 free treatments as your offer. That's a banger offer. A lot of people might consider that. But upsell 1 is you're going to need these orthotics, these bands, these braces, these oils, this kinesio tape, all to maximize the effectiveness of the 4 treatments. And so they come in for the free month of storage, but they need their lock, they need their insurance, they need their boxes. Just think about those things for yourself. If you're in education, it's like I offer group coaching, provide information in a community for free, indefinitely as long as you keep using my software. By the way, this is basically, fundamentally what we do with school. We do all this stuff for free and then just use school to help monetize. Okay. Free versus discount note is that with the Classic Upsell, it works either way, same as normal. So a friend of mine had a very successful weight loss chain and they offered services for $5 a month for their weight loss. And they had doctors and nurses and all stuff there. And I was like, that's insane. And she was like, yeah, because we don't make money on the weight loss services. And I was like, what do you mean? She was like, oh, we sell like $5,000 in supplements on the second day. I was like, oh. So that's where I really learned a lot of the really Jedi stuff that I know from supplement sales. I learned from her. And I paid her top salesperson $500 an hour for 2 hours to tell me everything she did to sell supplements. And you know what's crazy? When I told her top salesperson that I would pay her $500. She was like, $500. She's like, just to talk to you? And I was like, yeah. She thought I was an idiot. I'm dead serious. She looked at me like I had 3 eyes on my head. She was like, "It's your money." And so she just walked me through every single detail of what she did to sell supplements, and that $1,000 2 hours that I paid for made me millions. And so I highly encourage you. Sometimes the best people to learn from are people who aren't even selling information. Just offer to pay them to learn what they do in their particular niche or skill. And because people are not used to doing that, and you can charge, you can offer way more with the with the money's worth to you, you can make way more money that way. So I learned from her that she had service that she basically gave for a nominal amount of money because she didn't even care about it, just because that drew people in, and then they'd sell the supplements and the food and the bars and the shakes. Um, and yeah, they had doctors and nurses working there. That's how they made the money. So, important points. So, number one, if you make thing A free, then you got to be able to give it away for free. If someone comes in and wants the free workouts, you have to deliver the free workouts. Now, you can't say you have to buy this other thing, otherwise it's not free. You want to strongly encourage the thing, but that's fundamentally how it works. All right. So make sure that it doesn't cost you a lot or anything at all. Like that thumb drive that we gave, like you want it to be something that's cheap, but still valuable. The next thing is make the upsells the next natural thing that they would need to buy. That's the boxes, the large units, the locks, the insurance, things like that. The weight loss clinic, continuity of service, continuity of supplements, done for you meals, hormone treatments, etc. All of those things were all part of classic upsells that went through. You can't have X without Y. You can't have this weight loss service without these supplements. Just think you can't have X without Y as your mental framework for what the next thing I'm going to offer is. All right, this play works so well because the perception of how essential or required the next thing is. All right, so this is the key point. If supplements is core to how someone's going to get results with the main thing, the likelihood they buy is very high. So if you remember the minimum package for the rental car story I gave you, you want this to feel as required as possible. Again, you don't want to make it required because then it gets shady. But you want to strongly encourage people to take these things to get the best results, which ethically they should be able to get better results with whatever your upsell is. All right. And so how seamless the upsell process is for the prospect, if you make it frictionless, you can get sometimes 80% plus of people to take these upsells. I personally prefer to have upsells that have very little operational drag so that I can immediately offset cost to getting a customer, or it becomes that's my major profit stream. It depends on what the objective is for your business. Boom. Summary. Works on the front end as a back end, works as an internal play, meaning you can just upsell your existing customers. That's basically what the storage thing with the fur coats was. Many of those people were existing customers, so you can just upsell those people. If you suck at sales, this is not a hard sale to make. There's a lot of goodwill in this play because you just make sure that you close the upsell. Like, it's like, hey, let me give you this thing. I'm giving you this free earmuffs. Why not take it? But of course, you got to take this other thing too. And if you aren't getting 80% plus close rates, you're doing it wrong. So that's my big benchmark for you. If you're getting 30% to take it, you're not making it assumed enough. It's not clear enough to them that this goes with. So think about it like that. It has to go with. If you go to McDonald's, I would bet you that 80% of people are getting fries and a Coke. You want a very high uptake rate on the people who buy the next natural thing. Think of this as the thing that goes with the thing, and give the thing away for free to make sure that all the thing that goes with the thing you can make the money on. All right. And so the nice thing with this is that it gives you a lot of upfront customers. And that is the classic upsell.